One of my students was acting incredibly strange. Now I really wish I didn't look into her. If you picked her brain enough, you'd find that she's incredibly bright, Anne had said. That's what everyone says about her. I don't get it. Maybe I hadn't personally tested her enough to ascertain that for myself, but as per my experience, she was rather shy and didn't speak out much. As for her assessments, she'd proven to be a tough nut to crack. Sometimes she would write a pretty decent exam, but hand me a piss per assignment. I suppose some students preferred certain types of assessment over others, but she never seemed to want to improve on anything. I'd run her parents when she failed one weekend, but they came off as detached and uncaring. When she swung back to school the following week, she never brought it up or asked for help or constructive criticism. Nothing. She just faded into the back of the room like usual. And I wasn't the only one who had the issue. Anne, her history teacher and probably my best friend in this school, had observed the same too, though she had a more positive view of the kid than I did. All in all, she got below to average marks, never participated in class much, and now that I think about it, I didn't see her around the cafeteria or anywhere at lunch, either. It was like it was her personal mission to remain as invisible to the school as she possibly could. That's what I initially thought. Anyway, okay, I should back up a little here. For clarification's sake, I'm a teacher. I've been at it for around 7 years, but I've been teaching at this particular secondary school for about 3 years now. Maisie, the kid I've been going on about, is in my year 11 legal studies class. As I said, she never had a lot to show for it, but we'd just come out of a 2-week end of term holiday. She was back to school, and suddenly it was like a switch flipped in her head. She strolled into the classroom that morning, all warm and bubbly. Hey, Mr. Decker, how was your holiday? There were a few things wrong here. Not only had she come to class on time, which was a rarity, but never in the history of ever had she spoken to me like that. At the time, it didn't seem like it was anything worth the complaint. I mean, as a teacher, you'd be crazy not to welcome a change like this. As the term went on, her attitude shift only got better. She did well on assignments, participated more, and even asked me for help. It was good to see a positive change from Maisie, until it wasn't anymore. Eventually, she started becoming more, how do I put it, irritating. Every little sentence I said was picked apart and corrected by her. The worst part was she was right. Every time. Google seemed to side with her every time, but I'd studied it in uni. I had a degree. She's still in effing high school. She basically teaches my class for me now, and I'm just totally and completely lost. I don't know what she did to make her this incredulously knowledgeable in law, but in less than 2 months, she went from a meek, unassuming kid who didn't perform well academically to a well-spoken, disgustingly intelligent academic with the knowledge of a professor at Harvard. It was straight impossible. A feat like that takes years of work. I talked to some of the other teachers who taught her classes and, big shocker, most of them were having the same issue too. Just what is it with that kid? It's like she got replaced by a clone or something. There's no logical or rational explanation for such a phenomenon. Yesterday afternoon, I sat her down to talk. My inner a-hole wanted so badly to rip into her and call her out on her behavior, but the logical part of my brain knew it would just devolve into another debate. And why would an idiot like me pick fights with a genius like her? No, more than anything, I just wanted to know what got into her head. What was her home life like? What made her suddenly want to study so much? And, most importantly, how is she studying so much? I remember everything she said, clear as day. I pulled her aside during class while her peers were typing up their assignments. All of them had eyes glued to their screens and headphones in, so I was sure the conversation was private. So, what is it you'd like, Mr. Decker? She asked innocently. Listen, I began. I applaud your recent academic progress. You've greatly improved over the course of just a term. It's hard not to be proud of that. She giggled bashfully. Yeah, it's nothing, really. I had it in me the whole time. Who knew? Now I wasn't playing around anymore. Yeah, well, to be completely honest with you, I don't know how it's possible. She seemed taken aback. Sorry, you don't know how what's possible. All of this progress. You have the knowledge and skill of a university professor. You couldn't have just done that overnight. Quite frankly, I'm a bit worried. She gave me a chilling blank stare accompanied by a soft, unnerving smile. What do you like to do for fun, sir? What? You heard me. What do you like to do for fun? Maisie, I'm not entirely sure what this has to do with. Answer the damn question. Her face completely shifted in a second to one of disregard and irritation. It felt almost sociopathic. I knew I should have chided her for her tone and language, but the disturbingly eerie feeling she gave off urged me to answer the question. I had a neurotic, anxious pit in my gut that told me something really, really bad would happen if I didn't humor her. I like to hike. I like to read. I play sports. I skateboard sometimes. What are you trying to get at here? Oh, nothing. I was just curious is all. You have pretty cool hobbies. Must be an interesting life you lead. You know, I like to play video games, give the old guitar a good strumming, and sometimes, I draw. That's been my life since I was a child. I don't do much, you see. My heart raced in my chest. I had zero clue where she was going with this. Then, she continued. So, I guess all I'm trying to say here is that I've no idea why you're so worried about me. I'm doing fine. I don't know what it was about her answer that terrified me, but I promptly dismissed her back to her seat. For the rest of the day, I couldn't stop thinking about that conversation. Everything about it felt so inconceivably off. I hate to say it, but it made me lose sleep. I barely got a wink last night. I was furiously trying to piece it together in my head. It's like nothing about her made sense to me anymore. I came back home from work about 3 hours ago. Today, I was on a mission to try to collect as much information as I could. I didn't teach my year 11 legal studies class today, so I didn't see her at all. Good. I had to be crafty about it, but in my spare time, I found all her records throughout her time here. I learned who her teachers were, and what they all said about her in the reports. I even found out she used to frequent one of the school psychologists too. It was odd to me that a lot of the names I encountered in these documents, I didn't recognize. I reckon about half of the names listed I knew. Some of those teachers I did know, however, had left the school. Reading through all the reports made me feel like a massive creep, but I felt more than justified in doing so. I recorded all of it, taking various photos on my phone, writing down names and important details. All I could think about while I was doing this was that something seemed rather odd to me about them. I couldn't quite put my finger on it. When I got home, I immediately got to work cross-referencing her report cards with each other. Here's what I found so far. She seemed to have a pattern of this behavior. Every teacher who had a negative view of her or gave her bad marks at the beginning of the year would drastically shift opinions by the end of the year. She would go from failing those classes to getting straight A's. I recognized very few of these teachers. If she had already been doing good at the beginning of the year, her marks would not change. Neither did the opinions of the teachers who marked her assessment. I recognized a lot of these teachers, although some of them didn't stick around. Interestingly enough, she deviated from this pattern in grade 7, when she initially started high school. What was also of note in her grade 7 reports was that both her parents changed their numbers. Strange. I banged my hands against the keyboard. Nothing. Just more questions. A thunderstorm of whys and hows pierced my mind. My head lowered into my hands. I found everything that could mean something, but this couldn't be the end. I needed answers. I had to find more. My eyes lingered on the names of former teachers. Then, I thought about something I really shouldn't have thought about. Whatever happened to those people? I tentatively searched their names on Google and began clicking on as many profiles that looked like it would lead to something. Of the 19 names I didn't recognize, I found about 7 matches. Their Facebook pages listed them as high school teachers, which to me, was a dead giveaway. As for the rest of them, I found nothing concrete. There was one thing all 7 profiles had in common, though. They were old. All of them were currently inactive, with most of them seemingly untouched for years. A horrible feeling brewed in my gut. I felt like I was about to uncover something I really didn't want to. I scrolled through the old posts of one Frederick Blank, and I saw what had to be a relative of some sort commenting on one of them. I had the regrettable idea of clicking on their profile, and it didn't long for me to see a repost of something truly awful. Frederick Blank died 3 years ago. After more digging, I found that this was also true for 4 other profiles. Amy Friend died 1 year ago. Alex Guthrie died 4 years ago. Bailey Van Zandt died 1 year ago. Hans Urich died 10 months ago. My heart was thumping out of my chest. None of this could be a coincidence. These deaths were all connected to something, I was sure. I spent hours digging around, trying to find obituaries, news articles, anything that mentioned the deaths of teachers in or around my city. I ended up finding out the grim fates of 3 other teachers from the 19. I found out most of what the police or media had to say was inconclusive, which meant that most of these deaths were under mysterious circumstances. This already did not bode well with me, but what pushed me over the edge was a photo I found of the supposed crime scene of one of the murders. I saw one detail that looked off to me. I squinted, making out what I figured to be a ghostly figure, hidden in the background. Then I saw it. A bright, familiar smile. Maisie's smile. I snapped my laptop shut, catching my breath. I must have been seeing things. This whole stupid research project was driving me insane. I dragged myself to the kitchen and got the kettle boiling, but the uneasiness never left me. I had the urge to tell anybody about my findings. I know it probably sounds stupid, but I wanted somebody to know this in case something bad happens. After returning to my desk, I almost instinctively grabbed my phone from the desk, unlocking it. A photo of Maisie's Year 7 records greeted me. I realized that this is what I was looking at last. I was about to close out of it until I saw the old phone number for Maisie's dad. I don't know what possessed me, but I dialed the number. There's no point. I told myself this number's just gonna be dead. Then it picked up. Surprised, I muttered an almost instinctual hello into the phone. Who's this? A gruff, harsh voice responded. I sat there lost, scrambling for something to say. My name is M.R. Decker. I'm calling about Maisie. He took a long, breathy pause. Is this some kind of sick prank? He spat. No, I said, taken aback. I'm her legal studies teacher. I don't give a s about who you are, buddy. You're effing sick. Wait, I pleaded. I think there's some misunderstanding here. Who exactly am I speaking to? If you know about Maisie, I'm sure you know who I am, stalker. The real question is, who the F are you? Ed. My name is Ed Decker. I teach at West Helford. Your daughter is in my law class. I swear I'm legit. Complete, deafening silence. Maisie's been dead for 5 years.